What's up? This whole story with Joe Kent resigning from the National Counterterrorism Center uh, last Tuesday, it's been a week now, believe it or not, has blown up all over the internet. He's been on a lot of shows. He's been started with Tucker Carlson's show, and I think he went on Megan's. There's several he's went on. But things that he said that are contrary to what this administration wants are causing the Trump administration a whole lot of heartache. And I want to look at a few things that have happened and tell you a little bit about him. He also phoned in to the Tommy's podcast, which is Tommy Kerrigan. He has a cool podcast. He probably went on for 10 minutes and he said some things, and I'll share them with you in just a minute too. But first, I want to talk a little bit about who Joe Kent is. Joe Kent is like a badass. He's like hero status. If you're a military if you're a military family and you have interest in having your family carry on that tradition and join the military, this guy he checks all the boxes. There's not a whole lot that he hadn't done. He's somebody that can be looked up to, and up until a week ago, he was held in high esteem by pretty much everybody across the board. It wasn't until he had an opinion contrary to the Trump administration that he wound up getting thrown under the bus. Personally, because of what I think about Trump and the fact that I voted for Trump, I struggle with the things that I see him doing now as he has cozied up to Israel and has gotten us into a war with Iran. I won't say a forever war because I don't know how, but it's definitely we don't know when the end will be. No troops on the ground. Oh, troops on the ground. 5,000 Marines. Okay, 10,000 Marines. We don't know what we're into yet. So the people that stand on Joe Kent's side believe that, as he said, that they weren't about to have a nuclear weapon ready. That was in the past, and even more so after we bombed them the first time. And then, as far as the war goes, said that it wasn't an imminent threat that Iran was going to attack Israel or anybody else. It was actually that Israel was going to attack Iran. And so that didn't sit well with anybody in the Trump administration. That's one side of the coin. So Trump, Netanyahu, Lindsey Graham, Mark Levin, Mike Huckabee, I don't know, Dan Bongino, you can name so many people that are out there that are, whether they're carrying water for the Trump administration or that's really their political bent to be warmongers, to want us to be in wars because it's good for some of the corporations that they're connected to. Whether you're on that side of the coin, which I don't know. I thought there was only two sides to a coin, but apparently there's three. But if you're on that side of the coin, fine, we understand where you're at. But then you've got this other side, all those people that I just named and more, who are attacking this other group of people. And who's in that other group of people? Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, no longer with us, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens. You've got those first group of people attacking the second group of people. And in the end, what it comes down to is they want to call them anti-Semitic. They're anti-Semites. They hate Israel. They hate Jews. That's what they want you to believe. And unless you're a fucking idiot, you're not going to believe that slop. And it's hard for any of us who see these attacks to understand how this president and his administration and the people around him can go on these rants and all this craziness against these people, because these are people that we trust, and apparently we're on the wrong side of the coin. That's bad enough. The problem is there's three sides to this coin. There's another group of people which you may not know. You've got Tom Luongo, Susan Kakenda, Promethean Action, Ian Burlingame, Tommy Kerrigan, that they believe that Trump's not compromised and that he actually has a master plan and that it is to bring down City of London. And this is all one. City of London, Davos, the Crown, the elite, Europe, basically, if they're not going to get on board with this plan. But they believe that there's this other war that's going on, not the one we see on the news, or we don't see it on the news because guess what? It's been censored, the war with Iran. But what we see, this war that not supposedly, we're having this war with Iran. I don't mean it to sound like that, but that war is not, that's not on the front burner. That's not the main thing that the Trump administration is doing. What the Trump administration is doing is destroying City of London. I just use that as a blanket statement for all those people that I included in that it's a financial war, that we're going to break the yoke upon the United States of America that's been there since we've been in existence, and that this empire, this British Empire in City of London, the Rothschilds, whatever, put a name on it, it doesn't matter, that they've had, that yoke's going to be broken, and Trump's the one that's going to do it. So I'm like, okay, so we've got three sides of the coin, and I really like the third side of the coin. But then there's this other problem that comes up as you see all of the things that surround Trump now, that he's in a could be forever war, that he's cozying up with Israel, who's calling a lot of shots, who committed a genocide in their own country against their own people, or against a people, and that they claim that that's their property given to them by God, and that nobody can tell them anything different. So those are the problems. I do want to say that I can understand Luongo's side of it, that when you listen to the things that he says, if you're fair, he has a point. The things that we see going on are a financial fight against this empire, and just one after another, whether it's knocking out the drug dealers, the cartels, the human trafficking, Maduro, Cuba, the boats that they were blowing up in the Caribbean, anywhere that you point, he'll tell you how that ties in to this financial war, and it makes really good sense. And I'd like to believe that that's what's going on. But you still have the Epstein files and things like that get in the way of being able to hail Trump as some kind of hero. When are we still talking about this Epstein guy? Yeah, that doesn't go well with those of us who are conservatives and voted for Trump, because at the end of the day, what usually makes a person conservative is something it's in their soul that is between them and their maker. And when justice is not done, when it's not brought about, then we lose hope and we lose direction. So Kent resigned from the National Counter Center on March 17th, which was last Tuesday. Said it was due to he couldn't agree with what the Trump administration was doing. He stated that he cannot in good conscience support the war in Iran. In his resignation letter, he claimed that Iran posed no imminent threat to the United States. Said that the conflict was initiated due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. Before Kent was confirmed to the NCTC in 2025, he was a Green Beret with 11 combat deployments and worked for the CIA. Then Trump came out and responded, and he called him weak on security. Said he didn't know him real well, but And then there's allegations that the FBI has an investigation for him allegedly leaking classified information, which most people that you hear out there talking say is bullshit. Since he left, he's basically hit every show. March 18th, he was on the Tucker Carlson show as his first interview. He claimed that senior officials with doubts about the Iran strikes were not allowed to brief the president. Senior officials who knew the truth were not allowed to brief President Trump. President Trump's got a wall around him named Susie. He went on the Megyn Kelly show on March the 20th, and he talked about the FBI's investigation, and he was bracing for political retribution, but he had no regrets. March 21st, he went on Unheard with Freddie Sayer, and he said that the America First platform was undermined by a misinformation campaign from Israeli officials. And then I have no idea why he did this, but he went on the Mark Levin show on March the 23rd. I guess he wanted to get yelled at in all caps. A heated appearance where he clashed with Levin over the imminence of the Iranian threat and denied leak allegations. And he did something on NPR, or either they talked about him on NPR. But anyway, he's been all over the media. That's the point. He's making his case. He did an interview with Schellenberg, and he says that he intends to testify on the side of Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old who supposedly shot Charlie Kirk with a .30-06 that didn't do a whole lot of damage. Just, well, it did on the front, but didn't come out the back. Didn't blow his head off. It didn't do what a .30-06 does in every other instance. But he intends to testify on Tyler's behalf as a witness to reveal that the National Counterterrorism Center was explicitly blocked from pursuing a foreign nexus in the case. They didn't want Joe Kent and the NCTC to have the opportunity to get involved because the case would get so much larger. The stop order, Kent said to Schellenberger, that the FBI was forceful in telling his team to stand down. He believes this was done to keep the investigation localized in Utah and prevent it from ballooning into a geopolitical scandal involving foreign intelligence. In his interview with Schellenberger, he highlighted 3 specific facts that he intends to bring to the stand. The stand-down order, he claimed he has the names of specific DOJ officials who told his team to cease all inquiries into foreign intelligence involvement. The second one, inconsistencies in the text messages. Kent is backing the theory also pushed by Matt Walsh and others that Robinson's text messages were too scripted for a 22-year-old and believes they indicate the involvement of a handler. And the third one, the foreign nexus. He claims his office saw signal intelligence and suggests a foreign entity was tracking Kirk's movements at Utah Valley University prior to the shooting, which is interesting with all the stuff about the Egyptian planes and the how many people were in the audience from supposedly from Israel. So that's where we're at. And then this morning I woke up and found that Tommy Kerrigan was banned from X, the free speech platform, right? How do you get banned from that, Tommy? Elon, so you're the free speech platform, huh? So if you're so free speech, then why have you banned Tommy Kerrigan? Why have you banned Tommy's podcast? I think you're showing that you're biased and you're leaning towards what the Trump administration wants you to do. Looks like free speech as long as it falls in line with what Israel wants, what Netanyahu wants. we're losing free speech in America little by little. And if you can't see it, you're just not looking, you're blind. A guy that you may or may not know, Tommy Kerrigan, has a podcast called Tommy's Podcast, and he uploaded a video to X, Twitter, and was banned from that. Not that, I mean, he's used to that. He's been banned from everything, and gotten back on a lot of things. But he's got a great podcast, always has awesome guests. And he had a particular caller call in during his live show, or it wasn't a live show, it was a recorded show. He had somebody that called in. It was Joe Kent, who's in the news. He did the Tucker Carlson interview and some other interviews, and he's the one that stepped away from his position, stepped down because of the war in Israel and Iran. It's basically Israel's war that we've gotten involved in. But anyway, I want to share what he said, and then I'll share the video.
Monday, March 23rd, 2026 at 7:42 a.m. Eastern Time. So I'm banned from Twitter. So 2 days ago, when I interviewed Colonel Watkins, Colonel Murray, and General Holt, and Joe Ken called in, it was the coolest thing ever. It was like the coolest name drop ever, for 10 minutes and blah, blah, blah. That was uploaded to Twitter, and within 2 hours, I was suspended. That was on the 21st. And the reason given was for a comment on the 18th, where
I've went back and looked at his video library, and I think I tried to scan through those videos that are closest to the 18th, and I couldn't find the video of the what he got banned for. I guess maybe YouTube took it down, or maybe he took it down. I'm not sure. I doubt he took it down, but
where some vet was saying, he supports the war and he disagrees with Joe Ken, and I was saying, well, I know a lot of the tier 1 guys who support Joe Ken. And kind of basically, you're not going to change your mind. I'm not going to change my mind. Like we're both saying, well, I have people that like him and I have people that don't like him. It's like, we've reached an impasse. It's the end of this discussion. He kept going, and me being me was just like, hey man, enjoy dying for fucking Israel. Joe Ken's a hero. So that's what got me banned within hours of uploading an interview with Joe Ken. Turn the clocks back 20 years. What I said is no different than saying, hey man, have fun dying for Dick Cheney. Go back to Vietnam. Hey man, have fun dying for Bell Helicopter. It's just what it is, and I stand by that. And Joe Kent is a hero. They said it was a call for violence because I said enjoy or have fun dying for Israel. No, it's quite the opposite. I'm saying don't go to war. But they know that. They're not stupid. They're not stupid. They know what they're doing. What's stupid is me trying to convince them that I wasn't being violent.
He's absolutely right. It had nothing to do with his comments. It was more about him having Joe Kent on his show and them being able to go back and it's funny that the video that he was banned for is not the video that they took him, or yeah, they took him down when he uploaded this particular video, but it wasn't the video that he made the comment in. It was the video that Joe Kent was calling in on his show.
As somebody that's been banned from every platform multiple times over the years, I will say this, never bend the knee. God smiles upon you if you stand tall. And I will also say this, I have only ever been banned from things for talking about things that eventually don't just kind of come out, they become factually evident. 2020 election, COVID, origins of COVID, vaccine safety. So that's a big self-report. So I appealed it. I doubt they'll give it to me back. I don't care. And yeah, fuck off.
So that was Tommy Kerrigan's original position on what happened, and he's a believer. And if you know anything about his show, I mean, he's got a lot of ex-military type folks, and the fact that Joe called in is a thorn in the media's side because they're trying to control the narrative about the war and about Iran, and so in Israel, especially about Israel and what they've done, because it's slowly coming out. So anyway, here is the call that he's talking about.
The war with themselves.
Hold on, somebody special's calling in.
Uh-oh.
Hello?
Hey, Tommy. I can hear you.
How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Good. How are you? Joe Kent, this is Colonel Watkins. This is General Blaine Holt, and this is Colonel Steve Murray. I've been, as we've all been going on for the last hour and a half, just defending you and everything around you, but I figured I want to get it straight from the horse's mouth. Real quick, because, Joe, you've known me for 5 years, and all I do is kiss your ass, and I don't ask any questions of substance. I wanted to just kind of give them each one question or something. as you know, not live, pre-recorded, all that good shit. Steve, you first.
Oh, sure. Put me on the spot. So, hey, Joe, I just want to say I appreciate the fact that you did that the right way and that you're out front. Let me just say that up front. That says a lot about who you are and what you are. The question I have is really, boy, I don't want to tie you up for 20 minutes, but the short answer is, you talked about in the letter, you talked about that we didn't have any indications of a nuclear program, and you've seen all the congressional nonsense on Capitol Hill since you dropped the letter. Have you changed your position on any of this, or have you been coerced to change your position? I think is a better question, and you don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
Oh no, I mean I haven't. I mean I came out pretty publicly, so most people in that realm are avoiding me like the plague. But I saw the testimony. I saw the intelligence we did before the annual threat assessment hearings last year and this year as well. And so, I stand by what the DNI put out. I believe in both sessions. I think she's still. I've only seen clips of this one, but I mean she basically said that Iran's not on the cusp of building a nuclear weapon. That before the Ayatollah was killed, that he was holding his fatwa against nuclear production. And then post Midnight Hammer, that they were even further back, like that their ability to produce a nuclear weapon was obliterated, / seriously degraded.
Steve.
Sorry, I was muted.
No, you're good. He's driving. He said he has 5 to 10 minutes, so we're burning through some of it. So I just want to make sure each of you guys get something to ask. So
yeah.
Colonel Watkins.
So, Joe, hi. I'm an Air Force colonel. I've spent the last 3.5 years doing research into events that has gotten us into wars since post World War II, and primarily the CIA's role in most of them. Starting with Ajax, PV6S, and Forward. I'm very interested in even long term having a conversation with you about how the manipulation of intelligence in the past, to include intelligence like for 2003, which I was at CENTCOM over 9/11, so I'm very familiar with a lot of the stuff that happened in the lead up to 2003, how the intelligence is crafted as opposed to gathered and analyzed. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, a good deal. And this is kind of what I was getting at my letter and my longer form podcasts. Essentially in this case, I feel like the 18 intelligence communities were like in a rare form of agreement, because a lot of times it's back and forth. But in terms of like, did Iran have a nuclear weapon? The 18 intelligence communities actually agreed. We had a pretty good idea of what their plans were they attacked. And then also, basically from the time that President Trump came back in office, and especially after the 12-day war, we had a really good idea of what the Iranians' escalation ladder looked like. And so to come out and say that like there was an imminent threat, that's just false, like I said. But then also the way that the Secretary of State and President laid it out, that like it was an imminent threat because the Israelis were going to attack, not because the Iranians are planning a sneak attack like the day after we hit them. So the manipulation happens, I think, basically by short circuiting or just getting around the national security process and the interagency process, and having the Israelis, because they have so much access to senior decision makers, to senior policy makers, to legislators, having those key leader engagements, essentially liaison engagements, go right to the source and say, hey, actually, we have some really good intelligence. It just hasn't hit the intelligence channels yet. So let me tell you, they're really moments away from a bomb, or they're about to attack you, or they're about to develop a new, ballistic missile capability that can hit the continental United States. Before the IC even has a chance to say yes, no, maybe so, it's already right at the senior decision makers' desks, or right in their heads, and then that's parroted in the mainstream media by all of the Israelis' sympathizers, I guess, for lack of a better term, in the mainstream media. And to my knowledge, in my lifetime, anyways, the Israelis are the only ones that are really capable of this.
They're definitely more capable of it than other countries. That's for sure. I'm sure others try. But... Yeah.
And General Blaine, do you want to hop in?
Yeah, just real quick, Joe. I'm a big fan. It's good to be connected to you. So here's the 2 variables I'm looking at. You quit honorably. You did it right. I can in good conscience stick with this. And you posted the letter so nobody could warp your words. That was great. Almost instantly, we find out that they're going to launch some sort of investigation on you, despite the fact that they haven't investigated. Let's see, anything to do with Epstein, J6, COVID, anything.
Right.
But you're the guy that needs an investigation. So that looks a lot to me like retribution. And then when I look for the string of retribution, I go back to the very, very reasonable place where you were at after Charlie Kirk was assassinated to say, I don't like this. I want to investigate this further. You're going down the pipe. And all of a sudden, the FBI blocks you and says, oh, no, you won't be doing that today. Let's explain this to you. So if you could, if you could tell me, what is your sense of things with retribution? Why would the big hand come out and spank you so rapidly if you weren't over some sort of target at least, or onto something? It just seems extremely underhanded that you were stepping out of the playground and they're trying to wing you on the way out.
Yeah, certainly. So as far as investigation stuff goes, I mean, you guys have all been in service. If there was truly an investigation, they would have pulled my clearance and they would have put me in some sort of a prohibitionary status.
Yep.
And so that didn't happen. Until I chose to walk out. I was the director. I had access, et cetera. So I believe strongly that the FBI leaking, they're accusing me of leaking, but the FBI leaked that I'm under investigation to members of the media right before the Tucker Carlson interview came out. That was just a media game, and I don't even think the FBI actually leaked it. I think this is like the White House communication shop or some other communication shop being like, hey, let's just leak to the media right now that Kent's under investigation. That's the most likely course of action. The second is the retribution, like we're all familiar with. You know, the worst example, I guess, is probably what happened to General Flynn. So my guard is up for that. But until I see the FBI kind of come at me in a more real way, I'm not challenging them to. I hope they don't. But until I see that, I just kind of view it as a diversionary tactic by the media.
Understand.
Wing of this. Yeah,
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I would agree with that too. Yeah. And by the way, great job on Tucker. I mean, you said everything that absolutely. I think all of us have said, probably better. And what you said is exactly what I would say 75 to 80% of the public actually believes. So nicely done on Tucker, man. Nicely done. And by the way, I could tell you that there's a lot of SF guys in my on my team for my show, and I can tell you every single one of them's behind you, bro.
Across the board.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Joe, thank you for calling in, brother. And just, I mean, not that it matters for me, but, you know, I've known you for 5 years, dude, and you've been nothing but not only extremely cool to me, you came on my show before I even had 1,000 subscribers on Rumble, no less. And you've been in touch with me, and I always point to you, and I think I guilt trip you at times. And I tell you, you are the shining example I hold up when people start blackbilling. I always hold up you.
Really cool people, Tony.
So, Joe, I love you, brother, dude. Thank you so much for calling in, man. Thank you for doing what you're doing, and it's an honor to know you, and it's an honor to look up to you. So, Joe Kent, thank you so much, sir.
Want to play some of what I think of was the most important part of the interview and give it a listen at regular speed.
But I saw the testimony. I saw the intelligence we did before the annual threat assessment hearings last year and this year as well. And so, you know, I stand by what the DNI put out, I believe, in both sessions. I think she's still, I've only seen clips of this one, but I mean, she basically said that Iran's not on the cusp of building a nuclear weapon, that before the Ayatollah was killed, that he was holding his fatwa against nuclear production. And then post-Midnight Hammer, that they were even further back, like that their ability to produce a nuclear weapon was obliterated, / seriously degraded.
So that's what Joe Kent said about the DNI and what they had found. And if you think that they pulled that video off of X, the free speech platform, my ass, if you think they pulled that video down or banned him or whatever, Tommy Kerrigan, well, it's because of that and this next clip that I'm going to play you.
Yeah, I mean, a good deal. And this is kind of what I was getting at my letter and in my longer form podcasts. Essentially in this case, I feel like the 18 intelligence communities were like in a rare form of agreement, because a lot of times it's back and forth. But in terms of like, did Iran have a nuclear weapon? The 18 intelligence communities actually agreed. We had a pretty good idea of what their plans were they attacked. And then also, basically from the time that President Trump came back in office, and especially after the 12-day war, we had a really good idea of what the Iranians' escalation ladder looked like. And so to come out and say that like there was an imminent threat, that's just false, like I said. But then also the way that the Secretary of State and President have laid it out, that like it was an imminent threat because the Israelis were going to attack, not because the Iranians were planning a sneak attack like the day after we hit them. So the manipulation happens, I think, basically by short circuiting or just getting around the national security process and the interagency process. and having the Israelis, because they have so much access to senior decision makers, to senior policy makers, to legislators, having those key leader engagements, essentially liaison engagements, go right to the source and say, hey, actually, we have some really good intelligence. It just hasn't hit the intelligence channels yet. So let me tell you, they're really moments away from a bomb, or they're about to attack you, or they're about to develop a new, ballistic missile capability that can hit the continental United States. Before the IC even has a chance to say yes, no, maybe so, it's already right at the senior decision makers' desks, or right in their heads, and then that's parroted in the mainstream media by all of the Israelis. Sympathizers, I guess, for lack of a better term, in the mainstream media. And to my knowledge, in my lifetime anyways, the Israelis are the only ones that are really capable of this.
So right there from Joe Kent again, saying that Iran was not on the verge of building a nuclear weapon, especially after Trump bombed them the first time, and that if there was any imminent threat of a war or an attack, it would have been from Israel, not from Iran. Straight from the horse's mouth. Fuck Elon Musk. Fuck his free speech platform. And I hope you pass it around and make sure that he hears about it from every direction. Like and share.